It is the new year. 2022 hopefully will bring better tidings and a world and country that isn't constantly living in fear and oppression. But that could be a pipe dream. We in Sri Lanka are seeing the results of misguided leadership and lack of governance. We are also seeing our diversity being used as a tool of division, the multiculturalism being used as a weapon to destroy a once thriving nation, and young people being forced to leave a country they see no hope for. With me today is a young man who became the youngest ever mayor in the country at just 32. And he gained this by the highest percentage gained by any candidate in that election. Known to be candid and focused, he was initially a tea taster who qualified in media and communications from Deakin University in Australia and decided to enter politics. Rehan Jayawickreme is a leader to look out for. He has shown more than once that principles, ethics and governance matter in this paradox isle. Welcome Rehan, and a happy new year to you, and thank you for being on the show. We are in a new year and in a country that is in disarray. As someone in national leadership, what are the immediate steps you will take as a young leader to put our country on the straight and narrow?
I think first up, our dollar rating needs to go up. We need to increase our borrowing, but not from countries like China, where we are going to be stuck in, debt traps. We need to increase government revenue, but for all this to happen, the government needs to understand that time is running out. And the more that we are going to, continue to borrow from countries like China, the more we are going to have to sell our state lands, which they own anyway.
So what would you do?
Like I said, we need to go to the IMF, but the process on which we need to go to the IMF, it's not as easy as going to a bank and going to a teller machine and putting your ATM card in and getting money out. We need to, even to go to the IMF, we need to meet certain conditions, and that includes human rights and so many different things. And even if we do go to the IMF, the processing time alone, I think, takes about 3 to 4 months, and it will take at least a year for us to get our money. So the way we are going, I think the reason we are not going to the IMF is because the IMF doesn't want to give us money.
We are certainly not in a good place at the moment. What are young people's aspirations and expectations when it comes to our national leadership?
I think the younger generation don't want free handouts anymore. They are not like the older generations where politicians can go and give them a butt packet and get them to come to a meeting and count on them to give you a vote. Now what they want is, not only do they want financial stability, but if you look at the middle class or the upper middle class, and if you ask a youngster what they want, they'll start off by saying they want a good salary. Next thing, they'll tell you they want a nice house. Then they'll tell you that they want to buy either a bike or a car. And the fourth, or probably the last thing, is they'll say they want to get married. But out of all these things, it's come to a point where even if you do have a high salary, because of these import restrictions the government has set in place, a person can't even buy a car or a bike anymore. And that's deeply worrying, because I think it's a fundamental right to earn and to spend the money the way you want to spend. And the government has taken that away from the people and restricted the youngsters from doing what they want to do.
We are an island that is an oxymoron. We are united, yet divided. Why?
From S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike's time, I can't fathom how a man who couldn't speak Sinhala, who studied at Oxford, came back to Sri Lanka, thrived on racism, ended up tearing the Chelvanayakam Pact when this all happened, and then it just kept on getting worse and worse. And every single leader, this may be a very controversial statement to make, but I think all leaders in our country over the years are responsible for the mess that we're in right now.
So looking ahead, how would you like to see Sri Lanka in 2022 and beyond?
I represent a coastal area, and I had a very high profile investor coming in from England. And as soon as he landed, I met him shortly afterwards. And he said, "You guys have such a beautiful country. You can land from the airport and you could go to Nuwara, where it's cold. You can then take another 3-hour journey or 4-hour journey and go to the south, where you get the beaches. You then again come to a place like Colombo, where it's bus. It's busy and people are all around the place, right?" And he's like, "What are you guys doing to this country?" And it's sad. It's sad because not a lot of young politicians want to do politics anymore. Lots of youngsters are now standing in passport queues just to get the hell out of this country. And that's deeply worrying. Because if the youngsters don't make a decision of staying back in this country and getting into politics, we really don't have a future anymore, and that's very sad. And it's also sad because I'm a father of 2 kids, and even I have been thinking, should I migrate? And then again I think, well, if I migrate, what about the future of this country, and what about what we want to do for this country and the good things we want to do? And like I told you, the politicians of this country have really, really, really messed things up, and it's taken a toll on the youngsters. It's taken a toll on almost every single sphere in society. And I hope and pray that the leaders of this country will realize that Sri Lanka is not their public property, and that Sri Lanka belongs to not just the Tamils or the Sinhalese or the Muslims, that we have to first identify ourselves as Sri Lankans.
Well, that's a tall order, but at least if we start now, there might be some hope for the future. Kaleidoscope with Savithrirodrigo is on multiple digital channels: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Simply subscribe or follow and be updated.